Two caves. Adventure lovers come to a special cave. From the moment you enter the cave, their fate is tied to the raging waves, intertwined, resulting in a chaotic situation. Will they eventually escape the clutches of death? This is the board for today's logging class. Cave Exploration Accident. On the morning of August 5, 1997, this day in Hawaii, kick off with perfect weather. Clear sky. Gentle envelope. The temperature is about 29 degrees centigrade. Timothy Anderson met Winton through a friend a week ago. Nicholson, the local person, proposed to take him to some tourist attraction, hidden spots to visit less often, as sea distributed along the coastline, and caves are such wonders. From a distance, the entrance to the sea cave is black, huge mouth gaping on the cliff. The highest point is about 4.6 meters high. A path made of volcanic rock, naturally formed narrow rock trails lead to the interior of the cave. You need to walk carefully to avoid slipping. Winton has visited this place many times before, so lead the way with confidence. Timothy is close behind. Into the cave. Cool shadows make people temporarily. I forgot the tropical heat. They go deep into the cave. Different layers of lava flow, paint unique textures on rock walls. The darker areas show more new volcanic deposits. However, what they did not realize was that the rhythm of the waves is gradually changing. If they had that morning, check the local weather forecast. Maybe you can see that against Kona. Huge wave warning issued by the coast. Warning of ocean-going storms will bring unusually large swells. And so do people with local knowledge. Every August, this sea area is constantly experiencing unpredictable marine transformation, but they didn't pay much attention. They went deeper into the cave until the bottom of the hole falls, connected to a sea pool with every wave. The pool water rises gently. Volt. Winton suggested pausing here to take some pictures. Everything looks perfect. Timothy, be careful. Standing at the edge about 60 centimeters above the water. Prepare to capture the perfect picture of the interior of the cave. Neither of them noticed sudden silence in the environment. This unusual silence, for experienced seafarers, it's a sign that a big wave in the bathroom is coming. The warning came too late. A strange stream sound sounded. The water in the pool suddenly dropped several meters. The water level is much lower than before. Winton hadn't had time to utter a warning. Subsequently, far more than they had seen since they entered the cave. Wave. Bigger waves came towards them. The waves crashed into the cave with explosive force. The sea rushed towards them at an alarming rate. The rock shed where they used to stand, instantly engulfed by 91 centimeters high rolling seawater. The powerful impact knocked the two down. Swept away. Timothy just feels the world spinning, rolling helplessly under the control of the rough waves. His shoulder hit a rock that was submerged underwater. Then he hit another rock hard on the head. Winton has more maritime experience. When the enemy wave strikes, even if you catch a protruding rock, he prejudiced Timothy under the retracement force of the waves, struggling to be rolled towards the hole. I let go of my hand and let myself go with the wave, because he knows he wants to live. We must escape the cave before the next big wave arrives. Retracement. The seawater carried them away from the cave at an alarming rate. Mouth throw. Take them past the earlier path to the cave. The path of the sharp volcanic rock. The rough face toward Timothy's skin. His legs and arms were covered with bruises. But more worrying is when his head hit the protruding rock again. That sickening dull shock. Just escaped from the cave, bringing a brief sense of relief, soon replaced by new dangers. They're now deep in the water and is being pulled away from the coast by powerful reflex. The next big wave is already taking shape. Swept in at the speed of harm, Winton told Timothy, before the next big wave hits. Rushed to the shore, Timothy suffered a head injury. Ambiguity, but still instinctively listened to Winton, full of urgent instructions. The two swam desperately towards the nearest shore, struggling against the current that pulls them to the depths of the sea. Rising waves, from a gentle swell to a towering wall of water. Winton played a key role based on experience. Probably saved their lives. He told Timothy to dive underwater to avoid the waves. Years of surfing experience have taught him. Compared to being hit by a wave, it's much safer to go under the unbroken waves. The two took a deep breath. Dive underwater before the waves hit you. Even so, they are still trapped underwater by giant snails, turning like a rag doll. But fortunately, it avoided the most violent impact. When they resurfaced, gasping for air, I find myself closer to the shore. The power of the waves, actually unintentionally, helped them approach land. Both are exhausted, but they're finally here, with the help of wave foam, where the thrust rushes to the shore. The moment you step on the ground, a strong sense of relief came to my mind. But this peace of mind is fleeting. They came ashore, did not enter the cave at first, the beach, but standing together, under a steep 12.2-meter high cliff. Their position. There is only one black yarn less than 3 meters wide, belt of rocks, and will be completely submerged at high tide. They were actually trapped on a vertical cliff. With that piece already, shows a deadly threat between the seas. Exposed environment at the moment became their new enemy. Although Hawaii has a warm climate, but soaked and blown by the constant trade wind. This quickly led to a dangerous drop in body temperature. The sun has passed its peak. Will soon be obscured by cliffs. The two are about to be shrouded in shadow. End of ground smoking. Head injury, still in a trance. Early symptoms of shock begin to appear. Pale skin, unresponsive, uncontrollable shaking. Winton's path requires immediate action. He tore the fabric off his clothes, simply bandaged Timothy's head wound, stopped the bleeding, and he helped Timothy up against the cliff. Primary windshield. Meanwhile, he used as little dry sand as he could find between them and the wet and cold ground. Create a thin isolation layer to minimize body temperature loss. Their hope for rescue from a passing tourist. A woman is hiking on a cliff. He occasionally bowed his head. See, there are two figures on the deserted coastline. Aware of the urgency of the situation, he immediately dialed the police. Less than 30 minutes, the distant sound of a police car was heard. The rescue operation began rapidly. Lower displacement fire station, a dedicated cliff rescue team, police and emergency personnel arrive at the scene together. Rescuers use ropes and seat belts. Dropped down from the cliff to where the two were. Timothy's condition is more serious. He's fixed in a special Lynchy single rack. Adjust the upper pressure by the winch system. And Winton was also extremely tired, and multiple cuts. But under the guidance of rescue workers, he harnesses himself to the top of the cliff. Above the cliff, the ambulance is on standby, prepared to take the two to Kona Community Hospital. A few hours later, Winton was treated for wounds and bruises. Discharged smoothly, however, even after medical personnel repeatedly assured Timothy, under the premise of stable situation, his concerns have not been entirely allayed. CT scan results show. T. Monkey suffers from a mild concussion. Fortunately, there was no intracranial hemorrhage. The diagnosis finally relieved Winton, since the two were swept out of the cave by the waves. It was as if he was holding his breath. And the next day, Timothy recovered well and was discharged smoothly. That's the end of today's video. See you next time!